Good meowing, guys, gals, zombies, and YouTube catters. Well, with Blazing Dominions pre-release this weekend and its official release next week, I wanted to take the time to discuss a few different builds with your White Forest or White Forest Azamina, basically what is considered the pure build of White Forest. Because I have been testing various builds of this deck a lot, and I've been liking this form of the deck still in the upcoming Blazing Dominion meta, even without the elf notes. This is still a very viable, very competitive build of the deck, and it just remains to be seen how the meta will shape up, what the correct build is going to be, what board breakers we need to be running, what tech cards we need to be running for the standout decks like Yugioh coming up in the next format. Now, I could lie to you and say this is the absolute best way to build White Forest, that White Forest is tier 1 now. I'm not going to do that today. Instead, I do want to talk about the fun synergies, different tech cards that White Forest will be able to run in a more pure build upcoming in this new format. So the first version I wanted to discuss is with that brand new hand trap, the Harmonia. Now this hand trap is going to be taking the meta by storm. Basically, my rule of thumb is for this upcoming format, if you're a synchro deck or you're a deck that doesn't really care too much about its extra deck that has spaces to run the cards to go along Harmonia, then you are now a Harmonia deck. This hand trap is just that powerful, allowing you to get a body on the field during your opponent's turn 0, as well as popping a card and sending some of these synchro monsters like Malong, like Packbit, that also have disruptions during your opponent's turn when they're sent to the graveyard as well. If you do care about your extra deck or you are not a synchro deck, then you are running Super Poly as your board breaker of choice in this format. So as you can see from this build, it is pretty standard to the build that I got my Nat's invite with, although we have replaced the Perulias in the main board with Harmonia. If you are still struggling to afford Harmonia, I assume it's going to be a very expensive card on release. Perulia in the main board is still a very good option, as this does get you a ton of draws against Yugioh that has to play into this. But we are still on the 3 White Forest names, a Sylvie, LZ, and the LZ Azamina, 2 Diabell Star Black Witch as a starter with the Chorozo line into our Diabell Star package. With the Harmonia, the main extra deck monster that you're going to be sending with this card in a lot of different builds and a lot of various different decks is going to be the Cloud Beast Malong. Since Cloud Beast Malong, when it's sent, you get to target any face-up card your opponent controls and bounce it to the hand. We also have the option of running Packbit as well, which when it's sent to the graveyard or synchro summoned, you can target one monster in your graveyard or face up monster your opponent controls, discard a card, and if you do, place it in your owner's spell and trap. So it is minusing 1 from the hand to get that removal, which is sometimes a little bad. Some people choose to not run this and just stick mainly to the Malong. But one thing I want to discuss, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about with Harmonia and specifically White Forest in general, is we also have the option of running Despian Lulu Walilith, which is a card that has been popping up in the Genesis builds of White Forest, level 12 light spellcaster synchro monster. We can just typically make this because it also does have a negate attached to it, non-targeting as well. But it does have a send effect that if this card is in the graveyard and it was sent there this turn, so if we send it with that Harmonia during the end step, we get to special summon 1 light spellcaster monster from our hand or deck whose attack equals its own defense. So this is a great way to just extend out into like an LZ Azamina of the White Forest, LZ of the White Forest, or if we are running the Despian Lulu Lilith, then we are probably going to main deck the Stellar of the White Forest, as this just tutors it out from hand or deck, doesn't use our normal summon going into our turn. Then we can just immediately go into our main phase and activate a Stellar, sending that spell or trap to special summon a tuner, playing around Joel and Lockbird as well. You'll notice here in the side, I just included tech cards that you could potentially run based off of what matchups you're looking to see. Haven't messed too much with the extra deck because it is going to be dependent on the meta. The Saint Azamina and Azamina package in this deck are purely just so we have an out against Luna Light. But if you're not seeing Luna Light or don't expect to see Luna Light in the upcoming format in the meta, you can easily take out the Debtors for a Gaze of Timaeus and put in the Dark Magician package of a Demod and a Dragoon, while taking out like a Zalin for a Snake Eyes Doomed Dragon or Despia Lilith, and even keeping in that Moa Regina so that we can still have the Diabelle's Original Sin Keeper Anti-Spell Fragrance package line into the deck. I could even see something like taking out this pack bit, putting in the Lilith, and then if we wanted to go into our Demod package, we could put in the 2 Dark Magician fusions, take out the Debtors, and put in the Gaze of Timaeus, and the deck look something like this. Still have the once in target for the Harmonia, for the Malong. Like I said, you still keep your Moa Regina package. So if we're going first, we can side in that Diabelle's into our pseudo anti-spell fragrance line with Moa Regina and Diabelle's, and still keeping our 2 most important Azaminas, Murcielago and Sylvia. Like I said, this is what I would say would be like the generic build of the deck, depending on what matchups you are looking to tech against. If you are experiencing a lot of Lunalight, I would not go with this build. I definitely would bring in some answer to Lunalight like Saint Azamina and the Azamina package, or like an SP Little Knight for Baguska. Okay, so the next build I wanted to discuss real fast. Like I alluded to earlier, if you are not a Harmonia deck, or you care too much about your extra deck, or you're not really much of a synchro deck, then you are, congratulations, now a super poly deck. Super polymerization is going to be one of the best, if not the best, board breaker in the format as it stands right now before any kind of ban list. Because it is at a 3-of, it is unreactable. With the brand new Predaplant cards, it's going to be searchable, but this is the best way, at least for White Force, that we have to hedge against the Kultun matchup, because Kultun mainly ends on 1 or 2 tuner synchro monsters with the quick play set if they're going full combo plus whatever they have in hand. Super poly into Sea Monster of Theseus absolutely destroys their board and destroys their follow-up. We get a level 5 monster on the board that we can immediately just send with Diabelle Star Black Witch. It leaves them with just the Kultun quick play spell. If they've gone full combo without any interruption, it's usually the level 2 quick synchro during your turn. So the most they're making is 1 level 5, like an RS or a remix, which our deck can easily fight through. You'll notice we put back in the Mulcharmy Perulias. Basically, if you're going with a super poly pseudo board breaker style build, you will want to max out on the Mulcharmies as much as possible so you have something to draw into. In worst case scenario is replacing itself, and in best case scenario you're drawing 2, 3, 4 cards, especially against Kultun, and drawing into your super polys or your Black Goat Laps, as well as just plenty of engine to continue to play the game. The other best super poly target that we have, though, one that at least hits the most things in this upcoming format, is Rura. But a lot of people don't take into consideration Magician's Chorozo. It is an amazing super poly target, as well as Sylvia and Saint Azamina, because Chorozo is any 1 spellcaster plus any extra deck monster. If you're going, let's say we're going against an Elf Node's Fiendsmith, where they're ending on Caesar, all we have to do is just normal summon our Sylvie, activate Sylvie effect. If they have any disruption, we chain super poly to that Sylvie effect and super poly off Sylvie and the Caesar, and now we still have a level 4 tuner in the form of Chorozo to go into our White Force line. Saint Azamina as well, clearing off a fusion or synchro. This just wipes the branded inboard of the Ecclesia synchro plus the Albion White Dragon. I forget that its name, Sanctified Dragon. And then as soon as you go into the Azamina, we summon an Sylvia, so now we're playing under an Omni, and then you can just immediately just tribute into the Kaiju, the pure Azamina, and now we're swinging for 8k with the double damage from the Sylvia. Super Poly is actually an amazing card and is going to be an amazing card in this upcoming format. With this version of the deck, I think the downside of this deck is the extra deck is a little tight. You are losing a lot of different tech options if we go into this version of this deck, whereas you can take the Gaze and replace it with the Azamina Debtors. It's really hard to fit the Dark Magician package in this deck. You would have to remove the Moa Regina, which makes us lose our Diabell's anti-spell fragrance line, which you could probably, I could see Moa Regina being moved to a sideboard since you're only really kind of making her going first in some situations. And then you would be removing the Zolin since we would have an Omni Negate anyways in the form of Dragoon. But I would definitely at least keep the Saint and the Asmina line, especially for those Luna Light matchups, but more in particular as good super poly targets to go into to board clear with in this kind of build. So to wrap it up, to cliff notes the whole thing, I'm still going to be working on these builds as the meta develops, as the meta progresses. Again, no one knows what the correct build of White Force is going to be in this upcoming format, since we haven't even experienced the format yet. I've been going off of information basically of how decks in the OCG have been built in this format, in this Q-Tune format, and going off of my own testing as well. These are the 2 builds that I have come up with so far, but hopefully this video gives you a little bit of ideas, gives you a little bit of insight into this upcoming format, and helps steer you in the right direction for playing this deck in the upcoming format. So, as always, Catters, hope you found this video helpful. If you did, remember to let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And let me know how your Blazing Dominion pre-release goes. We will be opening up a box on Sunday after my pre-release on Saturday. So I will let you know, I'll keep you updated. And we'll be opening up our box live on stream on Sunday. So I hope you join me for that, and hopefully we can pull our own Harmonia or some sick Elf Note cards as well. So that being said, guys, gals, imbies, and YouTube catters, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, good night.